Beloved. Beloved. Hello. Your boy has made it. It's Monday. They tell me there's a new year coming. New year, new dreams. Same panic, different disco. You know what I'm saying? I am happy to be here with you and with my thoughts and with whatever ghosts may inhabit my apartment on the east side of LA. I'm pretty sure I'm getting stood up. Not the best feeling. However, one that will afford us even more time to soak up what was, at least for me, an extraordinarily gratifying experience. I wanted to do this because I know that every single DM in the world has some version of, man, I planned this dope thing and this was going to happen and that was going to go down and left and right and up and down. And then all of a sudden, the party gets involved. God damn it. And cool shit starts happening, obviously. But it's, I don't know how to put it. Like, there was so much more that I wanted to go down. So much more that I thought would happen, should have happened. So this is an opportunity for me to sort of just like pull all that shit out. The what might have beens, as it were. And still get a little bit of mileage out of it. Obviously, anytime we plan something and don't use it, you can put it in that Google folder and pull it out later. But it's really not the same. It ain't the same. So I'm hoping at some point... Oh, shoot, I'm realizing I never emailed them. That's part of why I'm being stood up. Hold up. Okay, stand by. Stand by. Yeah, that would explain quite a bit. Let me just send it to the good people. Okay. Cool. I cannot believe I forgot to do that. Okay. Well, it makes a lot more sense. That's on me. I love how I'm getting stood up. And they're like, man, he's standing us up. He never sent out the link. Anyways. This campaign began from a box. The D&D Essentials kit. Dragon of Icespire Peak. And frankly, no regrets. Because once I opened that Wizards of the Coast Pandora's box, I was pulled immediately back in to the world of D&D. Hadn't been there for a while. Had never really run a start to finish campaign as an adult. As a large child posing as an adult. And so in many ways, this campaign was for me a first. And like the firsts, we love them. We learn from them, hopefully. There's a cherishing. And this was Dragon of Icespire Peak, right? All about the young dragon Cryovane lording over the Sword Coast, coming down from the spine of the world and past the Desaren Valley to the small outskirt town of Phandalin. At least that's how it was in the box. I was so paranoid as a getting back into it DM that I changed the name of the town because I knew one player had played a campaign that went through Phandalin, and I didn't want it to seem weird, and I wanted to be super fucking original. So it was Marcin for the next 4.5 years. Did it need to be? No, but it was. And man, they brought so much to the table. I talked already about their backstories a bit whenever I was going through the initial kind of sad end of campaign stream. And you'll see emotions up there on the to-do list, and for good reason. There's a lot going on. But man, God, people brought so much to this fucking campaign. We'll just touch on it real quick. We have Max Calder Kagan. I believe he'll be with us today. Honestly, like a dear, dear friend of mine. And he was playing a Storm Cleric. He had a backstory of sort of falling from grace. And if you're familiar with the Dragon of Icespire Peak, a lot of that campaign deals with the involvement of the storm god Talos. Much like Phandalin to Marcin, Talos became Thalos. Like that's going to throw anybody off the trail. Oh, Dragon of Icespire Peak with the storm god Talos. No. It's Thalos. And it's something unique and different. But as soon as he told me that he was playing a Storm Cleric, my head kind of exploded because I'd been reading about this evil storm god and it fit in so perfectly. So a lot of what Calder's through line was sort of this redemption from a fall from grace as a local cleric in a seaside village, one that had fish turning up dead with the surf and the sort of local sea life slowly deteriorating in this kind of green ebbing and purple flow of coastal storm and weather manipulations that later became known as Thalos. And, Max had never played D&D before. This was his first campaign. It was honestly really fucking rowdy. So to be able to bring him in, to be able to bring in someone that had never played D&D and, get them into it, period, but like really root them into the story by way of their backstory was fun. We also have Jordan. I believe Jordan's coming. I don't know. But Jordan was and is a dear friend from University of Houston days. And he's a very, very talented performer and actor. And he had never played a full D&D campaign either. So, man, he played classic like Ranger, Outlander. He was a Blue Dragonborn, which had an enormous impact on the backstory and lore of the campaign as a whole. But I played it where he had been brought there because of his prowess as a hunter by this guy, Don John Raskin, who, if you know Dragon of Icespire Peak, you know Don John. Son of a bitch. He's a dirty son of a gun. Yo, Evie. I love you, girl. I'm so sorry that we booched that. I should have just rolled up solo maybe and just gotten a oneer. You know what I mean? But no, do your thing. I hate that you're at work. For we should all simply never have to. But I appreciate you stopping by, as ever. Hoping to be joined by some more friends. So yeah, we'll see who shows up, who doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But Jordan came in as a hunter, man. He brought a ton. He'd never played. Brian plays a ton of D&D, but at the time really wasn't in a lot of campaigns. He had a classic like Battle Master fighter. She set out for a life of adventure after more or less being kind of a housewife, haunted by the fact that her father had turned tail and fled on the field of battle. So she sort of was dealing with that lore within her own family of cowardice. So, dude, it rocks out. Like, I'm over prepping to the max. I'm adding way too much like mystery and intrigue and mystique. You know what I mean? But it's because I, at the time, just wanted to flesh out the Dragon of Icespire Peak. So I'm, connecting Thalos to other areas on the map, and I'm bringing in these, orcs, yes, but different parties of orcs that are like warring amongst each other. Yeah, this tribe called the Bushayin that was meant to be connected to the stars and was being impacted by the storm god Thalos. Not knowing that, the party's own actions, sort of the deepening of my understanding of the world, would already bring us further, further along than I could have ever anticipated, and thus render a lot of my prep excessive. Not unnecessary, but I was preparing stuff because I thought I wouldn't have enough, and I ended up having way too much. Look at this. This is just like my style. Then random later. Calder's uncle, Evan Kagan, will message. Jasmine will come out and return the 13 gold pieces to Valner. I don't know what that was about. I guess she'd ask for money back. She charged him for goods. I'm not sure. Yes, exactly. That's a genuine vibe check, which is let's talk about the freedom of the people to not be all work and no play. Okay, the Woodland Manse. This was supposed to be actually a big part of the Dragon of Icespire Peak, and something that I didn't think in the original book was like written out enough, so it was meant to be connected to the divination wizard, Owen Undertow. This was his kind of lair, mostly empty. An oil painting hangs. A young dwarven mage, draped in the trappings of his order, stands behind a beautiful dwarven woman. God, man, that's so funny to me. Yeah, this was like a family portrait, the family that he lost and would go back to try and find. This is great. So yeah, they never even showed up here. I literally have W4, W5. This is like the areas of the map as labeled in the book that I was just trying to build out. Pantry, several sacks of grain, one smaller sack of dried tobacco, smells like sour apples. Wow. If anything gives you an insight into the level that I was over prepping, let it be that. Let it be the smell of the tobacco. Yeah. Oh, good God. Okay. Cool. This is so funny to me. So they did end up kind of going this direction, but they never made it to the manse. Yeah, the royal histories, Slayer of the Red Dragon. A history details a dire period in the Queen's histories where conflicting reports surfaced. Some pronounced her dead. Other members of the Queen's quartet, even others claim there were two queens and one came back to save the other. Dude, this was meant to be such a like introduction and such a reveal of some of the lore. Oh yeah. Look at this. What do we even have here? Undertow's logbook. Most recent entry was almost a year ago, but goes back another 3-4 months. I don't know what that means. It talks about the Orcish sisters, spellcasters, being in league with the Fists of Orcs. Okay, that was me explaining some enemies that they'd met, but never got the explanation for. Okay. The orcs of the area are maternal in their lineage and fierce in their claims of dominion over the Sword Coast. Apparently a dragon has driven them. Musings, rantings, not enough time, never enough time unless I succeed, when I succeed. Then there will never be out of season or abundance for all three of us. That's the wizard freaking out, trying to get his family back. Look at this. The devils that serve the thunder gods are fools. Dude, I had like the whole campaign already built into this thing that was session 46. God damn. This is honestly like, I'm just kind of blown away by how much time I put into this one thing that was meant to be a big connector, but ultimately was not. Y'all some haters. Yeah, and I don't even mean that to be like, oh my God, I'm so good. I more truly am stunned that I took the time to detail that much. Crazy. Any good DM will add a little bookcase in there, though. You know what I mean? History, logbook, letter, map, certain areas detailed. Like, these are, like, maybe seem super cliched and overdone, but it is, I think, because there really weren't that many ways back in the day to communicate information. Like, it's either something analog like that, or it's like a magic mouth spell that just begins talking, you know? I played in a game where a guy had more or less homebrewed this really wild sorceress that was like a force of good, and she had created what was more or less like a holy pocket dimension that contained within it a bird bath that more or less held a reflection of, like, we'll just call it bird bathia, but some like kind of fey cyborg that held all of the knowledge of any book ever written. And that I thought was cool, because it like gives a free pass to a party to like ask a bunch of questions, get after the lore, whatever. So yeah, man, this is not something that I will ever be able to use, but I'm proud of myself going back and looking at some of this, because like, fuck, it was fun. I wanted them to go to the Woodland Manse so badly, because they were kind of hot on the tail of Undertow. I wanted to thread together the orcs and also present the fact, like lines like that, like the devils that worship the storm god, like shit like that. I just wanted to kind of like seed this connection of these gods fighting these different factors, more or less like creating pressure within the world of this campaign. Okay, we have my buddy and member of the party, Maximus. Let's get this guy in here. Let's get this rascal on the go. Maxime, my prince. There he is.
Well.
Look at you, buddy.
No, I didn't want to miss a second of it, so I didn't even go upstairs.
Dude, this is great. This is what I'm talking about. Welcome. How was today, Council? So let me just real quick. I'm gonna edit Calder in. Calder, I love you, buddy. How was today?
It was good. It was good. I had work. I had to. I don't know. One of my underlings had like it's called a pitch, where she's got a murder case in like a month, and so she had to like essentially.
In real quick. I just want you to know we are on stream. Yes.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Just so you know. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that. I just wanted you to be fully informed that we began this a good while back. Yeah. But you don't need to worry about a thing. I just wanted you to know that before names were named.
Before I start talking about all the good evidence and all of our cases.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna jump in the chat then. All right. You're like, this guy's an asshole.
Not at all.
No,
Not at
good.
all.
So just a person under me had to like essentially make like a pretty serious presentation to the people over me, which is always like stressful as the person in the middle, being like, I hope they do a good job, but if they do, then it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, parent vibes.
But no, she did great. She absolutely crushed it.
What was the thing she needed to present?
It was good.
Like just her evidence, essentially.
Yeah, so it's a murder case, and like they don't know anything about it, and so she just sort of had to walk them through like, this is the story, like these are all the people involved, this is what happened. This is like the evidence we have. This is what we suspect the defense is going to argue. And this is how we plan to like rebut it. And, just like, it's sort of like a brainstorming session too, where they're just like, are we missing anything? Are there other people we need to try and talk to that we haven't thought of? But there was a little bit of that. There was like, like, oh, have you tried to talk to this person? Or what have you done to try and get a hold of that person? Why don't you try, looking up this or that? So, but I mean, a lot of it too, they're helpful, but a lot of them are just sort of, opportunities to like show off to the bigger bosses.
Got you. Make a little stamp.
So just like any sort of, corporate organization, you want your people to do well. So,
dude, that is
it's always nice when they do.
That's a good boss, though, man. Good on you.
Well,
like, sharing some love, like that's massive.
Yeah. It's nice too. So It was funny though, just because it's like that dead week, you know, between Christmas and New Year, and we were like, all right, like nobody's gonna show up to this thing. Like nobody's here. Like everyone's just, you know, not doing anything. So,
And did they?
We ended up having like essentially the 3 kind of people immediately above us showed up, and then like 3 other just kind of like random people. Who's very nice that they showed, but we're just sort of like, we're gonna let the bosses kind of take control on this.
Got you, dude. That is hilarious.
You know?
Yeah, that's
So, funny.
like Evie, a very talented streamer and GM, dropped in and was saying that she's at work right now, kind of tuning in. It's like such a awkward time to go to work. It's like this one Monday, you know what I mean? And like I feel the same thing about Thursday, Friday, where it's kind of like, I mean, we've all seen the memes about it, but like we really are, like nobody's here. Like, you know, let's just sort of honor, like, I mean, if they're physically here, they are not mentally here. I am not.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean.
Well, it was funny, too, because, like, especially, like, the Wednesday holiday to Wednesday holiday, I think is really weird, because it's like, do we have work on, what days do we have work again? Like, if Christmas and New Year's fall on, like, a Saturday or a Sunday, or even, like, Monday to Monday, it's like, well, you know, that's fine. Like, it's pretty easy to figure out sort of dead week in there. But like the Wednesday, I did not know I had work tomorrow. Like I went in there and I was like, man, I'm really glad we have the day off tomorrow. And everyone was like, what are you talking about?
Dude,
like,
no. That's hysterical. That is a very bad feeling. Oh,
well, because I was talking to Catherine yesterday. I was like, you know, the daycare is going to be open. Like, should we go catch a movie or something? Like, we got a couple hours to ourselves. Like, you know, let's make the most of it. And then, so.
Dude.
So I'm taking tomorrow off is the
good, Max. I love hearing that, man. That is so awesome. Same vibe. Like Alex actually has tomorrow off, but and this happened I think on Friday of last week, but like where we were both off, but daycare was open. So like he had a really slow morning, and then we more or less like dropped him off to nap, you know, 11 to like 2, and it felt glorious. Like it felt like Alex and I had just, you know, hacked the world.
Yeah. Did you sleep in? Like, what'd y'all do?
We didn't sleep in really.
Breakfast?
Like we just hung out with them through the morning, which was very nice. Like took a walk, did the normal stuff, but then we were able to kind of go and, you know, basically. I don't even know what we did. No, we just did like random ass adult stuff. No, dude,
we actually Home Depot.
We yeah, exactly. We just walked around Home Depot. No, we had to actually meet with a lawyer of our own, and then after that got a extremely delicious seafood lunch, like patio, chilling, like you know what I mean. It was like, yeah, we both were just looking at each other like this feels like wrong, and it feels like we're, I don't know, somehow being very irresponsible, even though we're just having lunch together.
Right.
But that's parenthood. Parenthood is a lot of weird guilt.
Yeah.
But
like whenever, like even right now, I'm like, like I'm missing something. The baby.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that, and it's like, no, he's safe. He's with a series of women that you pay to go to work.
Yeah, and who honestly like have a ton of love for him. Like I'm sure there was like an enormous amount of feeling out the sitch. No, we feel blessed in that sense as well. Okay, well, throw out everything, Max. I've already told them that you're a dear friend from the University of Houston days, and go Cougs, baby. And
go Cougs.
You know, I kind of
changed the hand signal. Is it not the shocker anymore?
Oh, it has to be.
I thought somebody told me they changed it. I don't know. Like a cougar claw or something?
Like they hit him with this guy?
Maybe, yeah. Hold on, let's see.
Let's see. It's a dangerous search history right here. You like, I'm going in.
No, it's still the shocker. Okay, good.
Good. Good. That's
you know, John, traditions are important. They say that traditions are solutions to problems we don't have anymore. So You get rid of the traditions, the problems come back.
Wow, that is so. I'm gonna need to sit with that. Solutions to problems that don't exist anymore.
Right. But then if you get rid of the traditions, the problems return.
Got it. The tradition of inventing random boogeymen to come and snatch children. if we drop that shit, they coming back.
They coming back, baby.
Oh my god. Well, dude, so here's kind of the drill. Let me for those of you either chilling with us right now, and the one of you on YouTube, shout out. I love that. Whoever you are, man. I hope it's at Randy something because you're the man. But Max truly is a dear friend of mine, recent father, much like myself, stand-up citizen. As you just heard, all right, he has underlings that are lawyers. All right, so step back, think twice, and cut once. Whenever you're dealing with Mr. Maxime, but truly I adore you, man. And Max has been in this campaign since its inception. It was your first D&D campaign, yes?
Oh, easily, yeah.
And I really, there are a ton of people that are so familiar with the characters in the Storm Chasers and kind of the goings on. So Max was the Tempest cleric, the Storm cleric, Calder Kagan. I was explaining to them as I go through this 305-page Google document that on the first page into the second are essentially y'all's backstories that largely we'd either emailed or kind of, banged out in a Zoom or whatever it was. But that had an enormous impact on, of course, the campaign, but a lot of the setting. And I'm just curious, because Jordan will be here in a sec, I think. There are some elements where I wanted to drag us through the Google Doc, but I really, really wanted to hear from you guys, just kind of what it was like as an experience. Not necessarily to have me as a DM, but the just D&D, playing it, not understanding it, then getting into it, etc.
Yeah, no, it was super. So I actually, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but I tried to play D&D one time in high school, and it was pretty there were some guys that were friends of friends, and I was yeah, let's play some, let's go play some wizards and, some barbarians or something. And I think we were just going to do a little 2-shot. And this dude was just a real, just anime kind of dork, for lack of a better word. And, I was.
Are we talking about Paul?
Whatever.
Because that's my guy.
It is not Paul. No, this dude was just a straight friend of a friend. I had maybe 2 conversations, and a good buddy of mine was hey, you want to go to this dude's house, and he's gonna start a D&D campaign.
Sick.
And it was that just sort of what I think has become a very recent trope in recent years, which is just the mean nerd. There's this idea that nerds are just these golden-hearted, misunderstood people, and then it turns out a lot of nerds are just actually just powerless, evil, paranoid freaks. And so I didn't know anything about D&D at the time, but I had run through the character lists, and I was I just want to play a big dude with axes and stuff. Can I do that? And the guy was yeah, totally. And I was I don't know what a halfling is, but I don't want to play that. That sounds dumb. I don't want to be a halfling, whatever it is. So the dude I show up at this dude's house, and he's got character sheets for us. It's 4 people, and he hands me mine, and I'm a halfling rogue. And I was oh, come on, man, really? And he was just what? And I was I'll play
axes,
it, but
dude.
This is the one thing that I want to do.
axes.
And then proceeded to, I was come on, man. And then proceeded to just spend the whole campaign just messing with me. Where he let this other dude be a barbarian. We came to a locked door, and he was just well, why don't you just throw the halfling through it? That was his solution. His little hint was to just have the barbarian fling me through a plywood door. I was
Yeah.
Just kick the door down. So I stayed for 45 minutes, and I was I'm gonna dip. All right, I'm never playing this game again. Cut to
Yes.
2020, middle of COVID, and you're just hey, you want to play some D&D sometime? And I was I absolutely would. But, had no context for it, really didn't know any of the rules or anything, and like sort of just thought like, yeah, I mean, there's like pre-made characters, and then it was really fun. Like I think you and I had a Zoom call where you were just like, hey, like, you know, this is how you roll it up, like come up with a backstory. And sort of true to that, I thought I had to make everything up. Like I didn't even know that there were like names in the like D&D 5.
Oh, for
like,
gods. Yes.
yeah, but all that stuff. And so I was just like, all right, like I'm just gonna like figure something out, because I kind of figured I wanted to do like a magic user, but something with some like combat potential. So I was like, Tempest Cleric, that sounds sick.
Yeah.
And that's where that came. And then just try to come up with sort of like a kind of tragic-ish backstory to it, to just kind of have some fun with it. But again, like no idea what I was doing, and like was a little like self-conscious about it too, because like I think that those first like 2 sessions where it was just like, oh, we're jumping into this, we're doing this, like okay, and then like having to like explain the tragic backstory. And like it's fun when you're like writing it or whatever, but like when you're actually in it, explaining it to like, because I had never met Jordan or Ryan or anyone before, and so like having to explain it to him and just being like just describing your character's like weird, lame, tragic backstory to 4 strangers via Zoom was just sort of like. Also, I decided to do an accent, which was also like
brilliant,
a weird
dude.
choice.
No, it was great.
Like an accent that I was very uncomfortable with at first too, where I was like, I'll do an Irish one, that's easy, and then like quickly realized I had no idea how to do that accent. And then Claire joined the campaign like a couple months later, who was just like, you know, whose resting accent is an Irish accent, and then I'm here with this Lucky Charms ass.
Hey man, that existed somewhere, Max. All right, know that
it existed in my heart. That's where
in our game. No,
but
dude,
no,
that's
it was
so true. Yeah.
It was really fun, but I got to give you credit for it too. I mean, you made it very painless. Like you definitely sort of guided us through where we needed a lot of guidance, which was a lot of it, and then just sort of let us like just sort of, you know, run through it and sort of go with whatever we want to do. And I know Jordan's not here, but I think I would say to him too, it was really fun, like playing with Jordan specifically. Because I think like Brian and I were very kind of like by the rules people, where it's like, okay, this is sort of what's, you know, what you're kind of guiding us towards. And these are the things that, you know, we can sort of do, where it's like, these are our kind of powers and these are sort of the expectations. Like I think, and then Jordan was the one who was just like, nah, I want to do this other weird thing.
Yeah.
I think the example of that is that when we were fighting Cryovane, the dragon, and you were sort of like, hey, you can go down to this one city where, you know, the dwarves are kind of holed up, or you can head to like the main city of Neverwinter and, you know, see if you can fight it there. And then you sort of like gave some hints of other ways to fight it. And I think Jordan was like, cool. Let's build a catapult.
Yeah. He got real into a trebuchet.
That was it,
right?
Yeah.
He's like, this
like
is
a
what
ballista
we need.
or something, and he was like, no. Like, what do we need to do to build ballista in this world?
No.
And I think Ryan and I were sort of like, I don't think that's gonna work. And then we're like,
dude, well, I'm almost positive. I'm definitely left much love, dude. I'm almost positive that whenever he was going through that moment of being like, oh, okay, you guys had like faced Cryovane, its threat level was sort of established. And I remember he floated a couple things, and one of them was to get a goat and to tie gold around it, because he was like, this is what dragons want, you know?
Mm-hmm. I remember that,
They want gold and they want goats. He just texted, said he couldn't make it, unfortunately.
Oh, darn.
And I didn't put together a 2-person. Fuck my life. But I may, because I think that would be more fun to just go through the Google Doc together. So I'm going to do it. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. Hang on.
I just want to say I am really, because this campaign's been like 4 years in the making, and I keep hearing about this Google Doc. Heard about it for years at this point. And,
here, I'm just going to add it into Azeroth's box, shall we? No, dude, it is long, and it is. Let me just give you an example before we like really dive into that. And thank you for those kind words. It was fun. It was so fun to sort of find it with you guys. And as I recollect many of those things, like Jordan, and really everyone had such brilliant brilliant moments of this where like, you know, you kind of almost as a DM like have to be careful what you wish for, and sometimes there can be such like, I mean, sometimes it's outside the box and it's like, no, that wouldn't work, you know, and like that has to happen too, because it's just like it wouldn't work maybe. But if they're gonna roll for it, then there is the potential of it working, right? Otherwise, you shouldn't have them roll. And I remember 30 minutes to the last day of this year for me. Thank God. Well, let us count it down with you, kind sir. It is time to start a new year for sure. But Jordan, the ranger, basically wanted to do a like eyeball shot at the dragon. Do you remember this? Like this was
very well.
Like random encounter where it's a cool mechanic in the starter kit, but whenever the party travels, you roll a die and Cryovane shows up there to hunt. And yeah, dude, like it was the most impossible thing to anticipate was him wanting to do that. And then of course, like hitting it.
He hit it.
I remember I was like, I'm going to add 10 to the AC, which set it to a 27, and he rolled like a 28. Yep. And so in my mind, I was like, man, fuck, I like should not have allowed this. You know, like this was definitely a mistake to blind this dragon. But then it became really, really fun because the dragon now had enormous beef with the party. The dragon now, like much of this world, has a lot of, you know, sort of like struggling itself, is now kind of vulnerable and impacted. But dude, I don't know.
Did that ever like help us out in combat later? Were there ever like things that the dragon like wanted to do and now couldn't or would have done?
What it did was it created disadvantage on attacks on a certain side of his. Oh, and then it also gave advantage. In Glorious, like Brian kind of cracked this and then got into it. But it gave advantage to those that attacked from more or less the blind side, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, that was something that ended up not being that big of a deal, but you'll see that all over Reddit where they're like, hey, actually don't ever let people like call shots like that unless you're ready to add a limb mechanic, you know?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, we were so thrilled that he hit that shot too. That was just one of those moments where you were just like, "Oh my God!" Like, you know, just it was so nice to see just a Hail Mary like that just come together. And I think there's a lot of that in D&D, which is just so fun. Like you roll the 20.
Yes,
always bummer rolling like a nat 20 on like just a garbage, like a group perception check or something.
Yes.
Oh man, I really could have used that.
It is. Sometimes it makes me nervous whenever I feel I've rolled a nat 20 at the wrong time as a player. You know, I'm kind of like, oh no, then what's about to happen?
Yeah, in the chamber somewhere.
Exactly. I know that it's now headed my way.
Uh-oh.
I feel like you rolled really well on average, with the exception of initiative rolls. But even that, of course, had exceptions, right? and you know, man, like I really, since it's just us Max, like it really was such a treat, dude. Such a treat to just, you know, obviously hang out with you, period, but play a campaign this length. And, I mean,
likewise, it was great. I had a great time. And, you know, it's so fun just because we've been friends for so long, but we live in different cities and it's hard to hang out. And it was just so fun to like, you know, just have an excuse to do something once a week. I mean,
dude, exactly.
I don't see anyone once a week.
No.
Except for people I live with.
The underlings and my family. Yeah. No, dude, same. Like, and increasingly, like, being able to just sort of, like, connect with people that you're actively trying to hang out with, it feels harder to squeeze in. So sometimes digital feels nice, you know.
It was nice. I think I told you this one time, too, but, like, Jordan called me and he needed, like, a lawyer like, reference or something, just for something he was working on. And so I called a buddy of mine that actually like does this type of law. And I was like, hey, would you talk to my guy? He lives out in, you know, LA. He's got this, that, and the other going on. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm happy to. But, and he was sort of like, is this just a guy you know, or is this like a friend?
Yeah.
I got to be like, I talk to him every week.
Yeah.
It's like
I
and,
tell
like,
no
I've
lies.
never met Jordan in real life. Like, I'd love to hang out with Jordan
bless.
sometimes, but like, you know, we've never met in person. But I was like, I'm not lying. I talk to the guy literally every week, and he's like, all right, cool, yeah, I got him. Don't worry about it.
Dude, that's so sick. Now that is D&D working for the common good, baby. Like, come on. Oh man, I love that. No, that I was the only one that knew, obviously, everyone, but it was very fun to kind of work people together. And even, you know, because Brandon ended up joining the campaign for a long stretch, but having him come in and play a villain for that one fight was like so fun too, because it felt like I was able to like smash even more threads, you know, kind of together. So here's what I'm going to do. I think this is actually fun and fucking dangerous as shit. I'm going to share this PDF with you. Only for the length of this stream. And feel free to go through it however you like. Please don't download it. Although, if you do, go for it. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't ultimately have a problem with you seeing, other than probably some huge plot holes in some areas where I clearly was like, what is the better choice? What did I roll on this? Like, question mark. But man, it is so weird to me because I began this with the thought that it was going to be, sorry, let me just get this up. I thought it was going to be just straight out the box Dragon of Icespire Peak. And in reading online and on Reddit and stuff, and in looking at, like reading through the actual, you know, okay, just send it. Reading through the actual campaign guide, it became very apparent that there was like a lot going on. Like it was meant to be kind of like a monster of the week almost, where like you have the were-rats that are threatening the mine, and you have the orcs that have been displaced by the dragon, and then you have this storm god that's like with both of them, against both of them. Like, what is it? But they didn't really like label a lot of stuff, which increasingly is very, very common of campaign books. You know, like I've come to find out, it's like, oh, they just kind of leave it wide open, which is cool. But because I thought we were really going to be contained within the world of Marcine and this dragon, was like massively, you know, overwriting the lore. Because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go, like, I wanted it to be like generational, but in this small swath of the Sword Coast, you know, where we're going back and forth and back and forth. And oh yes, and so with that in mind, like really the first like 50 you know, sessions were like pretty much designed to be a bit in that Sword Coast world. But if you wouldn't mind, Maxie, scroll down to the top of page, I guess 78, like bottom of 77, or no, excuse me, top of 77, bottom of 76. This is pre-sesh 46.
Okay. Post-sesh 45. All right, I'm here. Pre-sesh 46.
I actually stopped even doing the pre-sesh because I would just make it all session. But there was just so much. But just roll through this, because we never made it to the Woodland Manse. This is a location that's in the Neverwinter Wood, and it's the place where somehow it was like described in a dream to you guys. I'm not really sure, but whenever you like you teleported there with your use of the Moonspire. Whenever you like stepped across time, more or less, you like went to the Woodland Manse and saw some of this. But what's really getting me is like, you know, like this was Undertow's lair, basically, like in the woods.
Oh,
sort of like a getaway cabin where he was like doing research, and you know, he was trying to use some of the holy sites, like the top of the Ice Spire or whatever, because of these time travel capabilities.
Okay.
And I literally just by chance today, was because I was like just killing time and telling, you know, people what was going to go down today, just sort of like scroll down, and came here and was reading through it. And, moving aside the fact that this is like unbelievably overwritten, like room by room, space by space.
I was just about to be like, there's a lot here that we just never.
Oh, dude. And like, listen, like the Tower of Storms, like everywhere, everywhere. But then the more and more that like we kind of got outside the world, the more I had to be like, all right, dude, like it needs to be much broader, like much broader, But this was also where those two orcish sisters, those like weird spellcasters that were tied up with Thalos, were using as a home base. Were like making potions with the help of those other tieflings. And this is what really got me, is like the library. There was like a lot of stuff. I'm like talking
Oh,
about,
wow. I could have stolen the Cloak of the Stars.
Yes, dude.
Early on. It was in one of the hidden rooms.
Yes, I think it was hard to find that, but it was there. Yeah.
Oh, man. 2 DC 12 invisible. What is that, an intelligence set? Oh, investigation.
Yeah, investigation. Yeah.
Well, maybe perception.
Oh, then that's how that was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. But what really got me was like Undertow's stuff. But there's a bit with Undertow's logbook. And this is literally, dude, I don't know. I mean, I could probably pull up the timestamp from when it was written. But this was session 46 of like 160. And it's crazy to me because, and I talk about this all the time in prep, where like it's, you kind of have to like reweave the campaign back in on itself like constantly, but then the balance is not wanting to like bang the drum so hard that it feels like that's the only sound that we're hearing, but the devils that serve the thunder god are fools. They traded away the girl in Sundabar for a turtle boy, 6 months wasted. There are no other known substitutes, lest it be Dragonhorn or Bushayan blood. But I just remember, like, as I'm reading that today, I was like, what? I just cannot believe how long the campaign went, essentially, and the length of time that we were rocking on it. I think Dadhood just snagged our boy Max. Yo,
sorry, the boy's in. Saying hey to the boy. Is it nap time? Snack time. Yeah.
Snack time. Even better, dude. Let's go.
Even better.
Well, we'll be out of here in about 15, 20. That's so good. I also got to go liberate my beloved cherub. Dude, I meant to tell you this. His cheeks are gigantic.
They are huge.
And I know you know this,
gigantic.
But they're not even like apple dumpling. They're like steam dumpling. You know what I mean? They're like big. Which obviously...
he's got a very round head, too, that I really find very charming.
Oh, dude. But like, Max...
Yeah, this is wild, though. Just like this... I mean, like... It's just crazy, like... Because I remember being like, man, what's the deal with that cabin? And we went back and forth so many times about like what to do, where do we want to go. This cabin has something going on with it, and we just like made it out there because we were just like, well, we don't really know what it is. Like, there's some sort of painting I think that we saw that was interesting.
Exactly.
Like we had no idea. I mean,
dude, no, totally. And like,
so I'm not saying the part about the devils who serve the storm god. Is that?
Oh, that's in. It might be above where you are. It's above the hidden room. It's
here it is.
Yeah,
got it.
It's basically just like books in the library, more or less.
Uh-huh.
But you guys had already kind of, you knew Undertow was a bad guy. You met with Batty. You knew he was like extorting Neverwinter, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really curious, man. Like, I mean, yeah, because like I like one of my big takeaways in listening back. And I wish I'd started earlier, but was like, man, I need to be way less mysterious with certain elements. Like, you kind of have to like really clearly shine the light on certain things to be able to be vague about other things, because if it's all mysterious, then it's like, it's very hard to connect.
Yeah. I think you did a great job of that, though. I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020 and there's always room for improvement with that sort of stuff, but like, you know, the lore was just so deep, and like I think you did a good job hinting at stuff that it was, you know, I always felt like I wasn't doing it justice by following along with it as closely as I should have. Like,
Bro, you were the note keeper. You did great.
I know, and I did
on.
not a great job either. Like, it's funny, I pulled open my notes and I have a 77-page Word document, which is significantly less than yours, but like, you know, a lot of it is just like trying to bang stuff out for like while it was going. I guess so, yeah. But
I know.
I really was trying to, but man, it was just.
Oh no,
I was
man.
Like, you know, it was fun though. It was really fun. I think there was like only 1 or 2 times where it really paid off, but it paid off big. I think it was one of the like puzzles we had where we had to remember like the name of the Zorn, like the Diamond Eaters or something.
That's exactly right.
And we were all just like, I don't know what that is. Like, we have no idea. And then went back through and we're like, I was looking through my notes. Like, I think I just Control F'd for Diamond. And I was like, I found it.
Yes, dude. Yes. I mean, truly a brilliant moment to use Control F. But I mean, there are a few things more like I think rewarding to a DM than when it feels like the lore itself like has an impact on either the gameplay, you know what I mean, or the decisions that are being like measured and taken. And you guys were so generous with that stuff, and I think a lot of it was made so much easier by how deep and creative like really everyone's backstory was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bummer because Gleb was turned to dust. I really do regret that. It should have been literally anyone else. But but his arc of like, you know, like ascension to like potential leadership and like, you know, was really cut short. And as was Gloris's reunion with her family.
Yeah.
That was really meant to be very sweet, and I was hoping Raven Rock. I'm tempted to even like bring up some of these maps. Like, dude, I was gonna have y'all play Risk essentially with bodies of Drow forces to see what version of combat, like how much you had to deal with or what terrain you had to deal with. And a lot of that was just because Mike and I play a ton of Risk, but I know, you know, you're a board game guy as well. Brian loves it. But even when you guys got there, it was going to be largely like led and held down by Tugglebutt's girls. And you know, like,
really?
Like,
they
like
were they were at Raven Rock?
Yeah, like the Citadel had heard the call, and like they came out and they were like badasses, just like their grandmom. And
I'm so disappointed about that. That would have been so great. Brian did a good job like playing Tugglebutts as being very cagey about her family. Like, I spent the whole time waiting for, like, the twist, being like, you know, is Mr. Tugglebutts dead? Like, what's the deal with, like, is her whole family dead? Like, are the, you know, she keeps buying dresses for her daughters and granddaughters, but, like, did they all, you know, like, why was she in Marcine, you know, brewing alcohol and just sort of rotting, you know? Why did she decide now to become an adventurer? And, like, I was always waiting for the twist on that, for the big reveal from Brian. Gosh,
he
that's
plays
so
it close to the chest. There can be no doubt. But no, dude.
No, it was great. It was something to look forward to too. You know, it was nice, the sort of like demarcations of people's like quest line, like Sweet Pea getting reunited with her sister. That was such a nice little moment of being like, okay, we did this. Check one off, like one down.
Exactly. That was really rewarding for me as well. There were so many moments with Trent before the end that I thought was really going to come to a head. And because I mean, I do, like, it's so, like, it's really is so satisfying to like close a loop. You're like, all right, Cordelia's safe, like tight. Like, we're riding out of Sundabar. Cool. Like, we came here, we did it. Like, excellent. I also, dude, we should maybe go to the lace stocking because, like, that was meant to be so different. Maybe we talk about it real quick. Like, in a perfect example of, like, no regrets, because that ended up being very, very fun and just a ridiculous sort of like domino sequence of things happening. But Claire, who's a friend of the channel, she's been on, a colleague of Max and I's in the gaming world, and just a great person, all around gal. Claire is like racked by illness right now, but Godspeed, Claire, wherever you are. But her sister, more or less, was the one mentioned in these journals, and had been like mini tieflings in the land, hunted and had their horns used by some kind of ne'er-do-wells. Not all, but some. And she, the sister, was being held in the city of Sundabar. So the party journeys across the map and gets there. And they are met by a sort of a friend of the party, my guy Marn, who existed as an NPC, and then Claire made a character, and I sort of just thought it'd be fun, so I pitched her on it, and I just didn't know that he would end up being the only one, whatever. But the
No, the only one what?
yeah, it's like the only one left in Silvery Moon is what I'm going to say.
Oh, well.
But the point is that the party got to Sundabar and was like, the sister is in this location called the Lace Stocking, which is more or less like, I poorly described it as a house of pleasures, which was meant to be more of like, it's a casino slash, they have shows and stuff.
Oh,
like
we went straight brothel.
Yeah,
You're
like,
all right.
oh no, she's a slave. But the fatal flaw, and this is one that I fell into truly until the bitter end, was like wanting to just like present the like locked box, and like in some streets that led there, or like a ladder that could get you maybe closer, but then like let you guys figure out the specifics, right? Like you guys could have gone in, you had an invitation to just go, and they basically ended up using like a tunnel system that Martin had created. They bust into this place, and
yeah, we talked about like splitting up a couple of times, like, because I think there was something else going on that we didn't want to miss. Maybe that was when the carnival was going on or something.
Yeah.
But we were like, some of us will sneak in through like a bread cart or something.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly how we did it. But I remember
did
talking
happen.
about that for a while.
But like the only reason I bring it up is because like it ended up being, instead of it being like you guys walking into this establishment in full swing, it's like you guys are creeping in at like 4 a.m. in like the middle of the night, and it was really fun, but like almost like hectic for me, because it was the crashing together of these threads. But it was fun to me to take all of my prep notes of like, this is the lounge area where this is happening, and these games, and that and whatever, and this is where like Cordelia was actually going to be singing a song, like much like the muse in Fifth Element.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
That's exactly where my head went with that. That's
like
so
that's
funny.
100% what I was wanting to capture. But it ended up because the party came in like at night again, because I sort of was like, gave them the freedom to, and they were like, well, let's fucking go now then. They basically busted in and like found the sister, but she was under the effects of this modified memory. So that in and of itself, I bring it up because that, like, I expected that moment to happen, like you guys to come up, Sweet Pea to be like, oh my God, that's her, go to her, and then Cordelia be like, oh fuck, it's my sister that I think sold me into bondage. But instead that happened like under duress in a round of combat, as she's coming out of her like bedchamber, So it's like, it's just, there's no wrong way. Like, it's just, it's always going to be something.
That's so funny. Yeah, that was, I think I missed like one session too for that too, like on the way up. And so like,
yes.
Also a very funny part about being a player coming back and they're just like, yeah, we're swinging on these guys. And you're like, all right, I guess that's not what I think my character would have done, but let's, we're in it now. So
yeah, dude, no, that was
session.
Exactly how that went down.
They were like, yeah, we're trying to kill this guy. And we were like, this is his house, right? This doesn't
Yeah,
look good.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I love how like I really rocked it by Jordan. He was like, I know. I was like, okay. He was like, okay. I was like, so what are you doing? He was like, I'm killing him. I'm like, okay. Oh man. But like,
was
if
so good.
if it was big chunks, like in my mind, it's like Marcin, a little bit of Neverwinter Undertow, Journey to Sundabar, and then it's like after that, like the campaign really like shifted, like, you know what I mean? Like there was, and I think part of it is like you guys were getting a really high level, but that journey back to face Undertow was originally something I thought was going to happen after the dragon, like level 8, and now you guys are coming back closer to like level 14, 15. But I just remember thinking at that point, because I'd already prepped all this stuff, now you're coming back to things that were already like in motion. I just felt so, like, it was all so good for me. It was so fun. It was really rewarding. Like I would say the last like 2-3 months were kind of hard, but that break from like post Sundabar, when like we all took a couple months in game and people kind of did their own thing, and then we came back to track down Undertow and get after it, like that was just so, like the prep was already done, you know what I mean? So it was like so easy and just very like fun.
I really enjoyed that part too. That was a fun, just sort of like little fast forward montage. You know, it felt like we gave our characters some room to breathe. You know, and like, you know, going, and it just felt very kind of like realistic, almost like natural. That okay, like they killed a dragon and then have gone back and forth across this giant continent, a couple of times already. And it was just, sleeping outdoors and sleeping in tents and then doing this big circus. And then it was nice because it felt like, okay, and then what would your characters do to kind of decompress from that? And I don't know, it felt very good. I thought that was a really good, fun choice.
Appreciate that, buddy. That was fun.
I think just... There's a couple things I do want to talk about. Yes. But it's funny. I've just scrolled to like the very bottom of this Google Doc just to see like what was the last thing that you were willing to share with me. Yeah. And it's just all of this stuff about hell and the city of brass. And, you mentioned like the last 2 or 3 months were hard, and like we definitely did not make it easy for you, because like those last couple sessions, we like went back and forth on what to do next for probably 4 sessions. Where we were just like, let's go to Raven Rock. No, let's go to Hell. No, let's go back to Marcin. No, let's go back to, and like, we didn't do anything. We literally were like, okay, like we're going to make a decision next session. I think you even texted us and we're like, hey, I want to get a vote on whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I think it was just, and then we just didn't do anything. Like we were just so paralyzed because we didn't want to do the wrong thing. It just felt like we were at this very intense crossroads and we were looking for any excuse to do something. And we just couldn't find one. And eventually we were like, all right, we're going to Hell. We're going to Hell. That seems like a very interesting thing. That's where like everything's going down. Like we're all super powerful. We're rested up. We all ate lunch. We're gonna go down there. We're gonna go.
We all ate lunch.
We all had a good lunch. We've all got our spell slots. We're gonna go down there. We're going to Hell. So we do it. We go down to Hell. We spend 2 sessions getting into Hell. We take one look around when we get in there, and we're like, we're out of here. No, we're not doing this. We're going back the way we came. And it's just very funny, like, because I knew that had to have been frustrating, because I know how much work and prep time you do in all of this. And we were just like in game being like, nah.
Yeah, I know.
We're not doing this. Dude, and like, I'm looking at the Google Doc and just like all of these like saving rolls we would have had to do, and all of these just like just so many places to go, people to see, and we just did none of it. We were just like, maybe later. I don't know. We're going to Raven Rock to do it.
For sure, man. For sure. Like it was so good because I'm trying to think. You guys left Long Shadow. You guys were at that castle for like a long time. We were there for so much longer than I thought we were going to be there.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be there for like a day or 2, and then we were just like, we uncovered the mystery. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right, we got other stuff we need to be worried about, right?
But dude, like that's the final, like that's why, and I'll put a pin in my own brain to come back to that. But that, yes, and that's, don't feel bad about that, because like that's D&D. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally every single, I mean, certainly every campaign of Critical Role spends like 12 episodes you know, near the end of it being like, okay, fuck, you know what I mean? So it does not matter. And that, and I think there is something to be said for like, yeah, like there's really, like I kept saying all roads lead to hell. And that's really just because I knew the hells were like coming up and that they were, you know, if Trent was working with the drow and Trent is now beholden to the hells, then like that's sort of a union that's being forced. And, but dude, yes, that was going to be like what really killed me was like there's so many maps because I'm like diving into the hells. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. Like lesser devils, greater devils, like the whole hierarchy of the city of brass. Like it was gonna be so sick because yeah, here we are. Yeah, that's this preamble. Nothing like 15 minutes in hell to really shift your perspective. Yeah, you guys left that shop of curses in Baradamus, and basically we're like, peace.
Yeah, we met one guy, and we were like, we don't like your vibe. We're gonna dip.
Well, the whole thing, like the hells was gonna be really twofold. Like it was gonna, or threefold. It was hopefully gonna be fun, like different, like very D&D, right? You're like literally going to hell, but these devils, like this really never got. Like you guys knew Varen was a double agent, right? And he deceived you guys. That was actually Brian's idea because he wanted to play like a one-off. And he was like, maybe he's a guy that ends up being a bad guy. I don't know. And
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was classic.
Did he know that was Varen, or did he just like throw that out?
No, he just threw it out. And then I made Varen and had him play it and was like, this is the guy. But Varen, when you guys went down into the Underdark and fought the Drow for the like very first time in Silvery Moon and saw that portal of hell for the first time and like all this stuff. And this was like kind of lame because there's no way for you to know. But Varen went in and like at one point was like, I'm going to investigate over here. And just went over and successfully found what was the list of true names of the devils.
Oh.
And that was sort of the source of it. That's why the Drow had been down there. And, you know, you guys did know that Trent had it, right? You'd like seen him use it in the Underdark and he talked about it a little bit.
It got stolen from us at some point, right? Like we had it. Yeah.
You guys.
Then what's his name? Like grabbed it from us and I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but somebody grabbed it from us and then like teleported away. We were like, well, I'm sure that's fine.
Exactly. There was like, and that was Sierra that eventually, you know, the Drow were working with Trent, right? And so like essentially the Drow getting it is more or less Trent getting it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted the hells to be an opportunity for you guys to see like the hells kind of in chaos. Like they have like a council of charcoal that's like the more or less like the strongest among them, right? Like Afrits and like jinns and stuff. And they are like destabilized because Trent has this fucking name. And at the drop of a hat can summon like some of the most powerful demons in existence. Mm-hmm. And so it was like there were some times like this is one, and I let me just float out the other because this is sort of the purpose of the whole time, and this is what I put a pin in from Long Shadow, was the fact that Reltirion had been kind of playing both sides, right? I think you guys probably figured that out. But he was eventually meant to be like, had you guys been full strength and fought the Ice Shields, you probably would have won. If not, you could have retreated. But like with a dragon behind you and a choke point, like it would, I forget how many rounds it was. It was like something D12, but you guys probably would have won easy. And then walked outside and Reltirion was going to land. And that was meant to be sort of him blotting out the sun, was that moment of like descending and kind of the fulfillment of that prophecy of Valnor's.
Oh, wow.
And what ended up happening, right, was like frankly, like, you know, Glorious, like, you know, getting impatient and like picking a fight with 60 fucking orcs, and then being shocked that it couldn't be won. But in that moment, right, you cast etherealness, and Jordan teleported on his own, but you guys now are in the ethereal plane and can only see 60 feet. And so you couldn't, like that, like literally Reltyrion's coming down. It was meant to be kind of like this shift of like, oh fuck, is Reltyrion going to save us? Or is he about to, like, why is he here?
Right. Or is he going to fight us and like even the playing field with our best weapon, which is this big old dragon?
Exactly. And, but partly because of the etherealness, you could only see 60 feet. You couldn't see that. And then you guys got inside the lair and ultimately, understandably, we're like super tapped and we're like, I don't think we can do this, which you're probably right.
Yeah.
But it was like, and that's something I do. Like I should have simply, like, I wish I'd had the wherewithal to be like, to just kind of cutscene Gloris a little bit, you know, like let her fight or something, you know, and then sort of be like, okay, so you take a point of exhaustion and something else and we move on. But yeah, man, because like Reltyrion was going to land and, you know, Valnor had stolen all those pages and was just going to immediately shift into human form and start writing and like sketching and like just taking in this battlefield, like waiting for both sides to thin out and then get after it.
So he wasn't going to fight initially. He was just there to observe.
He was going to watch. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Largely because he wanted to see if indeed Valnor was this dragon of prophecy.
Dang.
I know.
What a moment. What a moment that could have been.
But that's the type of thing where like, even like it's so rewarding now. Like I got it. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no, even seeing Mike, you remember how bummed Mike was, where he was like, wait, like we can't leave the dragon. You know what I mean? Like, and Mike is like our resident, like stalwart introvert. Like he's there. He's there. He's committed. He's silent.
Really strong player too. That was the funny thing about Mike is that he came in and he like didn't say much. You know, he was just sort of like, yeah, I'm going to do what Gleb does. And then like in combat would come and just like handle himself. And we were like, hell yeah, Mike.
I know. He played a Way of the Open Hand Monk. That was another thing. It's like, you know, I had to cheat over like a demon stat block for Trent, but then he also was a monk. And that was such a tough moment to use a legendary resistance on his quivering palm because it was so thematically cool for him to kill Trent that way.
Yeah. Like he had just become strong enough to use that too.
Yeah.
And like I think he hadn't used it on it. Well, maybe he'd used it on one of them.
He used it on a demon once,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he did do it on the Lich. That is true.
Tried it on the Lich. That's it. I mean, that's the cool thing about D&D though, is that, you know, like you're not just going to win every fight. And I think that one was especially disappointing because it had come on the heels of like a couple losses, which had come on the heels of like a series of just like huge dubs where like we did great in Sundabar. We gave the Turtle Boy back. We like pretty much won almost all of the events at the
crushed the events. Dude, that was great.
Crushed them. Go back to Neverwinter. Just, I mean, we lost
Undertow.
But barely. Beat Undertow. Started this uprising, and it was like it felt like we were on this victory lap where we were like we are firing on all cylinders right now. Like we can't be beat. This is great. Yeah. And then we just got like crushed by like. Just like a pirate raiding party of Ice Shield orcs out on the sea. Yeah. Like we just had some bad rolls. And like, I mean, we had to give them, like Brandon essentially had to like sacrifice himself in order to get them to leave us alone. If he hadn't done that, I think we might, I don't know what would have happened, but like, I don't think we had enough strength to make it out of there. And and then like that happened and we finally, you know, got healed and we got back to shore and we found our way. And then I think that's when we found, forget his name, the Red Dragon.
Yeah, Marath.
And did that. And we were like, all right, we're going to like steal some gold. We're going to fight another dragon, or we're going to turn him on, you know, to be our side. We're going to make him our ally. And then that didn't happen. And then, you know, we're like, okay, well, we'll go back to the Ice Shield orcs. Like, we'll figure this out.
Yeah,
and, by the time we get this big climactic fight with a dragon on our side versus, you know, 800 orcs. I mean, how awesome would that have been? We're all just completely tapped by that point.
Yeah,
we're all, you know, we're all one shot. I've got no spell slots left. We just had to do everything we could just to get to that point. But I mean, it makes the victory so much better when if you're not just guaranteed a win the whole time. But
that's really where it ends up for me. Is I'm like, it's some stuff is harder than others. Like with the Lich, for example, it can use a layer action to regain 1d8 level spell slot. Enrolled like 6 times, I think. Enrolled above a 6 like 5 times. And it's like there's a part of me that's sort of like, man, that's like unfair. Like there's no way that that's like balanced. And yet it's like part of the stat block and part of what makes it like so dangerous.
Yeah, losing my having to burn my level 8 and level 9 spell slots for that final battle too. Like that one really hurt. And I mean, it is what it is. But that was one too where I was just like, oh man, like, because I was hanging on to those just as like a get out of jail free card. Because my level 9 was going to be mass heal, which is, I think it's 900 hit points distributed however I want.
Damn, dude. That
which
is such a gnarly one.
Yeah, it's just a full party heal. So we're all at one shot. Everyone's back to full health. That's all that means. Yeah. And like the way I was going to do it too was I was keeping track of what everyone's HP was. And I was just going to play it like really like cool and just be like, all right, Mike, you get, we'll say 58 hit points. Sweet Pea, I'm going to give you 67. Glorious. I'm going to stab in the dark 120, we'll say.
On the nose?
Yeah. And just do that and let people be like, oh, wow.
Dude.
But then just walked in there with like, that anti-magic field and was like, I can't do anything. Like, I'm just a bubble at this point. So, dude, it is what it is.
Like the way that you and Slight the monk, like the monk was moving basically within this anti-magic field. Like that was awesome. Like that was truly like brilliant. No, man, I know. I mean, it's so tough. It's so tough with like layers and building out dungeons because like sometimes there's some trap that's like 2d8 and sometimes it's like 8d6, and like sometimes it is very logical and sometimes I'm just stealing it from something else. But I have found that traps and environmental hazards are weirdly like disruptive, like can really tip the scales of balance in a way that is kind of unexpected or can be super unexpected. But no, man, there was I regret putting in that. Like I literally there, I wanted to put a bunch of symbol spells within the layer that were like just traps, but I basically was kind of just rolling for them because there's like 14 of them. Mm-hmm. And the first one was the same symbol that Undertow had placed outside the centrifuge, which was like madness. If you remember, like you and Valner spent
I forgot about that.
The beginning of that campaign, like distraught with madness, just wizard shit. But I rolled and got that one, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do madness again. Like that seems fucking lame. And so I rolled and got this symbol of spell loss, and I thought it was so fucking cool. Like I was like, oh man, this is like insane. Like how awful, but it really, I think starting at level 9 and working your way down, it's hard. It sucks up to 30 levels worth of spells. Like,
I think that's all I had. Like
that's just, but that's kind of one of those things.
Wow. So if I hadn't done the anti-magic field, it would have just would have had to keep rolling.
Oh, would have kept going until you guys left the range of the symbol, which was like 80 feet. So it would have spilled even into the very bottom of the Lich's lair where that old tree was. Oh,
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
One question I do have. So I know could we have rested in could we have done a short or a long rest, and would it have
Yes. What Bilbin wouldn't have gained anything, and Slight and I believe Valner wouldn't have.
Was it Scratch that
Yes.
prevented them? Okay. Darn.
And this was like they got murdered so fast that there wasn't even, it didn't even matter. But like it was a Rakshasa, and it was basically like a Tabaxi-like creature that was, if you remember that like really fat Tabaxi that was a henchman of Trent's that you guys killed in Neverwinter. He was like this. I forget how he talked, but whatever. They were of the same vein of like Rakshasa, but everyone else could have rested. The only caveat to that is that I don't think you would have been able to have a long rest unless you had some sort of magic ability to get out of there, because every hour those skeletons would basically be reformed. The ones that you guys had like fought and destroyed. That was just sort of the nature of Bala's magic, like in that space.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I because it's funny because Brian brought that up too, where he was like, "Man, like I didn't think we could rest," and I think it's because I, was describing as Bilbin how he'd been there and he'd felt like shit and he didn't seem to be getting any better, but that's because he'd been scratched by this Rakshasa.
Yeah, that was what we were thinking. We were like, all right, John's, we're getting hints that
for
we can't
sure.
rest here. And we thought like, we thought we had this lich on the ropes too, and we had no idea that Trent was there. And so we were just like, we just need to sprint past this guy. Like if we give him a chance to rest, then
yes,
we're done on this. So like, let's go in there, let's fight this lich, let's figure it, finish him off, let's get out of here, and then we'll head on up to Raven Rock. And then Trent was there, and we were like, oh no, like oh no.
I know.
So
I know it was yeah. It's I didn't realize that had been communicated that way until well after the fact, but it makes perfect sense. That was me, like almost self-consciously wanting to explain why Bilbin was at 7 hit points, having been down there for days, and also to sort of like foreshadow, there's something in this thing that has this effect.
Hey, Bilbin, have you tried a nap yet?
Dude.
You're looking rough for wear.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that that moment of getting down there and seeing the old decrepit Bilbin was really cool. Like, took me completely by surprise. I think you had tried to do that, like, very early in the campaign.
Yes,
with,
way back.
Yes. With who was it? It wasn't Don John, was it?
No, it was Big Al. But that's exactly
it was Big
right.
Al. That's who it was. And we saw through that one pretty quickly.
Yeah,
where we were like,
you did.
nah, that one doesn't make sense. Did not see Bilbin coming at all. Like, I think that one got us all by surprise. And we were like, oh, that's really
No, it was very, very satisfying for me as well. Because, like, but it kind of, like, my fly on the wall sense was that, like, Mike had an inkling whenever the dude he knew, like, was the dead corpse of one of the fake, Sheesters or whatever his name was. But it's so hard because, like, you're like, no. Like, this was clearly a changeling and is now dead. Man, well, we're going to get out of here, but I always wanted to do this. Like, obviously, ideally, I was going to try to get the whole crew and, like, ping-pong it around. You're such a solid guy to be here, man. I appreciate it. But
my pleasure. I still have a lot of questions, so if you want to run another one.
Dude, that's so funny. I'll tell you what, hit me with one, and I will hit you with one more unknown.
Sorry, I got a sad boy in the background. All right, I got one. So this was one of my favorite moments too, and it's more of a Jordan moment than anything, and I loved it. But it was where we made, after we kill Undertow, we set out to sea. We have a seafaring campaign.
Yes,
super cool. And we put Jordan in charge as the captain for, I forget why we did it exactly, but I think we were just like, yeah, Jordan, you can be in charge. Like, captain, this is a hierarchical organization and you get to make the decisions. And so we're out on the seas for like days. And we would stop, and there would be all these encounters that John had clearly like set up that were supposed to be like interesting little side quests. And like I remember there was one where it was a bunch of guys, like I think there was one where some people were like clearly marooned on an island, and then there was another one where guys were loading boxes, I think from a cave or something. And we were all like, oh, should we go check that out? See, maybe they need help. Maybe there's treasure. And Jordan was like, nah, keep sailing.
Yeah.
He was like, nah, we're going past this. We're not messing with that. I don't know what that is. That has nothing to do with us. Keep sailing. We were all just like, all right, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
I just remember you were like, are you sure? We were like, yeah, Jordan's in charge.
Dude, it was so funny because, I mean, it was so funny for so many reasons.
So my question was, what generally, what were those? Would they have been bad for us? Would they have been good for us? What can you share about those?
One, the one island that you guys passed that seemed like it was sort of like abandoned, and you saw some ships there. That was going to be like a bit of a trap and a problem. That was a goblin. I gotta bring up this guy's name because this guy was epic and he did not appear. What is his name? Wait. Okay, hold up. Yes, here he is. Shagster the Hungry. And dude, oh my god. But the two islands were interrelated, right? The first one y'all passed was this one, and it would have been this like these goblin pirates, and it would have been like dealing with like a horde of very manageable low-level enemies, but like a lot of them. And you would have seen that there was one of those mirrors of hell, and that in fact the blind jackals had been more or less running a port out of here by way of using this as a way to quickly transport to this island and load up ships and sail them. And the other island was same operation, because I remember I described the other island as like, you guys pulled out a map. Glorious is great with maps. This island is not on any map.
Yeah.
And it's because it was an even older hideaway called the Rooster's Cock. And that this was literally like the boxes were I would have to look it up. They were literally like dragon scales, or they were like the explosive powder. It was something that was very incriminating. But Trent was going to be there. And like the idea was that this was going to give you an opportunity, if you wanted, to like jump Trent. And I really wanted that, because I also knew that he had the list of true names. So he was like going to get jumped, and you guys were going to like overwhelm him, and then a demon was going to come out, and you guys would probably still fucking wipe because there weren't that many people there. But yeah, and I just remember it was like really hard for me because I was like, we'd also just had No, this was before. Yeah. I remember just being like, should I like, okay, but I was like, no, this is how it's supposed to go, you know? But it would have clearly like changed a lot about the campaign, and potentially saved us.
Would have loved to take a shot at Trent before we actually got the opportunity to. So good.
Dude,
well,
and,
I mean, that's
and I will say this for free, just because I'll give one back, because this was such a fun moment for me. And like many things, I was like, I should have been more blunt. But like, like I really liked the idea of Greaves, of like this orc being like, that's the dragon of prophecy. Like like this is what we've been looking for, and I see it, and I'm gonna go for it. Like to me, it was very galvanizing. I was like, man, this is a very heroic like NPC. Like I fuck with this guy. And it was truly so hilarious to me, like how everyone just shat on this guy. Like it was perfect. Like the vibe was perfect.
I think I at least definitely got that sense. Like definitely was a very cool moment that he was like, no, like I'm in this, like I'm giving up everything I know for what I believe in. But I think like I was saying earlier, we just really needed a dub at that point. Like we were just like really kind of beat down, and so we were like, who's this clown? Like,
Oh no,
we
for
just kind of
sure.
needed somebody to bully, and we
For
were like,
sure.
yeah,
No.
this new NPC, sure, that's fine.
Dude, that is so true. And I love how like then he's along for all like I thought you guys were going to sail all the way up, but instead you got caught in this vortex with, Umberlee and all this shit. And so the fact that now Greaves was like with you at the castle for like a million days, and like now you're like marching up, you know what I mean? But much like you guys going to Hells was going to potentially be an opportunity for you guys to maybe even find an unwilling ally in these demons, because they're like, who is this dude that is calling us forth? And you're like, oh, that's this guy Trent. We want him dead as well. But I was hoping in a similar way that this Ice Shield orc could potentially, like had Valner stepped forward and been like, yeah, I'm the one. Which like is tough because like he also said many times, he's like, I don't want to be the one. And the guy was like, well, dude, like it's already been written in as the one, so like you're the one.
Part of being the one is you can't want to be the one, so
Yeah.
it works.
I love how Mike
of
loved that. He's like, I believe it way more now that he doesn't want this.
Yeah.
But I
But
should
you
have
kind
made
of got to
it
want it a little bit, or else you're just like,
Yeah, I can't only want it for you, But that's something I regretted because it's like, I wanted that to be a way to like take a bunch of ice shields off the table. You know what I mean? To like have them turn to you guys, maybe even have them, be a potential ally in working to figure out the situation with the drow. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I saw it going, was like, if you guys saved Trisiladon and Valner lived, then the ice shields were going to be like, it's that dude. And they were just going to roll with him. And hopefully that would also free Vexel's mom. Like that was my hope, to really like crash that together. But
yeah, and I think we kind of thought that, I think that was the plan, something along those
it was
lines, where
originally
we were
the
like,
plan.
Yeah.
It was just
we
losing to
wanted-
the Scorpion and then kind of, having a fight picked, I knew Glorious was going to get pissed. I didn't know she would attack a bunch of people. Like, but but I love that because like Brian is such a tempered regular guy, but like he really like played Glorious like very truthfully there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
think
Like
Ryan probably did the best job with the actual role playing. I think
he
a lot
did
of us
an unbelievable
sort of-
job. I agree.
Yeah, he did great. I mean, there was one moment that I think of that I think back on and I'm like, no, that was right, which was, I think we were in Sundabar and like Undertow was there with his main bodyguard or something.
Barak,
and I think, and like we were just he was doing like sort of his bad guy monologue to us and sort of like, oh, you're not going to try anything here in these open streets, are you?
Yeah.
And by that point, we knew he was a bad guy. And Glorious was like, yeah, I take a swing at him.
Yeah.
And I think we were all like, no, Glorious, now's not the time. And she was like, you aren't going to like take us, like, this is the guy and he's right in front of us. Why don't we just like jump him right now? And we were all just sort of, I think, like, like I at least wanted like the narrative to play out in a satisfying and, sort of more storybook way where, we have this run-in with him, but we can't really do anything about it. And then I've thought back on that and I was like, no, Brian was right. Like, we should have just jumped him in the street. Like, we might have lost or, we might have, had the fight broken up. But, like, that was good role-playing on his part. He was playing the character. He was not playing the story. And I think he did a really good job of that.
Dude, that's a perfect example. And, like, honestly, man, like, that stretch of Sundabar, like, through the trial and, like, and then Undertow kind of being there, because what ended up happening was he was like, yeah, I'm going to roll the hit. And because Barak was there and it's like a moment of tension, like Undertow's like, he walked up to you and patted you and said, sleep well tonight. And was basically like,
that's right.
Later cast a dream spell on you. But because like you guys there was animosity, I had Brian roll initiative, which he hated. He was like, what, for what? I was like, well, Barak's there. He's like going to try to stop you. And he rolled very poorly. Right. And so I attacked with Barak and used a disarming strike, and he rolled again, like a 1 and a 2. And it was so, and Brian's such a good sport. He really, really is. But it was understandably so frustrating for him because he's making a great move as his character in a way that plays to his character's strengths. and
Yeah.
yet the dice completely failed him, you know?
Yeah.
But like that was a great narrative moment, man. But listen, Max, like you truly, I mean, it was like your investment and the thoughtfulness with which you used your resources, your spells, like it was so rewarding for me, man. Like it made my job feel so easy. But it all, like even that dream spell, that's what led to that kind of moment of you really being on the material plane or the astral plane, and like it, you know, it's when Manana McClear was like saying he was writing you off, and it was, you know, all bullshit Thalos stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like even you giving me that much investment in us having gotten that far 2 years into a campaign made like running an encounter, like an innocuous passing in the street, you know, very, very narratively important, you know, because then I could use it for a dream spell, or I could use it this way or that way. And like, that's the shit that gets my rocks off DMing, where I'm like, this is what is the most fun, you know?
Mm-hmm. That was fun. I really enjoyed playing Kalderkagan a lot.
Yes,
and
dude. Yes.
I'm still grieving in a way that like is sort of surprising to me, you know, that he's a character that I made up, but you know, I hung out with him for every week for 4 years or so, and just, you know, having that, I was like, wow, I feel like a kind of a profound sense of loss for this in a way that is surprising, but very, you know, very, I don't know. It was very interesting. It was fun, even though it was very sad. But just from sort of a metagame perspective, playing a Tempest Cleric was so fun because I just had so many tools at my disposal.
Yeah.
You know, so many just interesting spells to, you know, make it rain, or to, you know, make it foggy, or, you know, use gusts of wind in weird ways. And I don't know, that's what I was really hoping to do in the campaign. And I really appreciated you giving me opportunities to do that, because I think it could have been really easy to just, you know, be like, all right, well, that didn't work, you know, or to just not present those opportunities. But I think you were great at giving just like a variety of different sort of situations to put us in, you know? There were a couple puzzles where you were like, yeah, let's just try a puzzle day. Like, why not do that?
Yeah,
you know, it would have been so easy just to have us go from location to location, fight people along the way, and then like, you know, sort of do the monster of the week thing that you were talking about. And I think, you know, you did a great job sort of doing that a little bit, and then doing like these big overarching things that we were trying to do too, if that makes sense. Like,
it does.
It kept it, the variety was so fun and so satisfying that just when we were starting to get a little like, you know, what's the word? Like a little, I don't know, like stale at something, you know, you'd completely switch it up. And like, you know, you want to talk about investing into D&D. I mean, that was all you. You were the one who put all this work in. And I mean, I think I speak for all of us when I say, you know, we just really appreciated it. And I really, really appreciate you, because man, like,
that's so sweet,
what
Maxie.
You have crushed it, and it really made it fun for us.
Buddy, that's so sweet. Truly, truly appreciate that. I mean, there's no way that the lore gets, you know, like it really is collaborative. And I think that's what was extremely, extremely fun for me. Like, I felt that too, man. Like, I really can't even tell you. It's like, yeah. But and I feel bad about it because well, no. I mean, it just is what it is. I too had that moment where I was like, man, like, I can't believe this. Like, I really... Yeah. And even as it was happening, it was like sort of a little bit out of body for me, because Trent was like my least favorite of the villains. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed playing him. It was very clear what he would do at all times to me, because he's just like a thief and a liar. And like, but I was like, no, like in my head, I was like, not, fuck. Like, but it did feel, I mean, I don't know, like I'm so genuinely excited for this upcoming campaign, because I think likely it will be tonally very, you know, different. I mean, there will be a little bit more space, a little bit more of a Mad Max, perhaps, post-apoc. What happens? What happens if the Drow win? What happens if the Hells push them all the way forward and take the lower levels of the material plane? And but like that, also knowing that like, the impact the Storm Chasers had, and for only some of them to make it out alive, I think is like creates this deep lore even within our world of the Sword Coast that like was made me very sad, but has now switched to like a really galvanizing excitement, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because finally I'm like, oh, I can actually see how like maybe this next campaign could bring us to the precipice of resolving the last one. Like, not that that's like the end goal, but like I think there's going to be a really beautiful like ship in the nightness to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you mean. I guess is what I mean to say, but I can't wait to find out. So
Yeah, no, me as well. All right, guys, give it up for Max. This is my guy. We are blessed to have him here on the stream. Max truly is a prince among men and a gentleman scholar and my potluck undergraduate roommate. I wanted to say graduate. Like we were both like getting our masters, which in the School of Hard Knocks we were.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But dude, truly you're such a blessing. Guys,
that potluck roommate was one of the luckiest things that's ever happened to me. So
it really was.
Really
completely agree.
Yeah.
I always ask people, Maxie, like how they can like support you. I mean, typically online, and it's usually like creators. But is there anybody you want to shout out? Any way that our peeps can come through and buoy you on this fine December 30th. Void day.
No, I'd like to shout out you. That's who I want to shout out.
Everyone's like, we're already following.
Check out Carpe the DM. He's my favorite DM. So.
Oh my God! God bless you.
On Twitch and YouTube. So.
Yes.
No, I don't have anything like that, but I appreciate the offer. So,
Okay. Well, with no further ado, and with that kickback coming right back to us, we are going to raid Ion Pickaxe. I think they're world building, or perhaps it's an actual play. I don't know. But let's give them some love because they seem to be chilling and in need of a little, I don't know, online support. Max, you're a prince. As always, guys, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. And say what up to Ion Pickaxe for me.